yes, the film absolutely villainizes her to the point that I was literally wondering, is everything okay? Like, I was like, where did this energy come from? As I have reflected on it and read other people's takes on it, I don't actually hate it. Like, I hated it at first. I really was like, this is a strange and unnecessary way to change the story. But like you said, she is the voice you're hearing throughout the book.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a
Mm-hmm.
reason that she keeps off coming off as a good person, while you know at the same time she's a gossip.
Sure.
So what are the odds that she's that much of a gossip and she never actually interferes in a messy manner? It's not actually that likely if you think about it. So if you are reimagining the book, there's nothing really stopping you from reimagining where you push the unreliability quite far. Now, with how they make her vindictive about Catherine, by casting a woman of color against a blonde, blue-eyed Margot Robbie, it looks crazy.
I found it interesting earlier when you said that certain changes that have been made you think, right? I have to make a concession here. As much as I hate the race swapping that happened, I just wish we had a more apt woman of color director to handle this race swap, because when I read the book, I was like, why is Edgar Linton so caught up on Kathy? Like, what's going on? And I was like, where have I seen this behavior before? I've seen it from men of color when it comes to certain types of white women. So I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense. But obviously, I know that Emerald Fennell doesn't have the range for that, right? And that's what was
No.
pissing me off, because I'm like, I really want to see someone get into this. That basically we have Heathcliff, who again, in my mind, is a mixed race Caribbean man, or like, formerly enslaved man. Then we've got Edgar Linton, who is, I'm guessing, some sort of South Asian person from the British colonies, and they're fighting for the attention of this very white woman. Even when we see Edgar Linton, and he's designed the room for Kathy, and he says the rooms are like my wife's fair skin or something. I was like, this is exactly a man of color. This is exactly what they would do when
That
they're a
was
Babylon
Babylon
bandit.
banditry right there. That was Babylon banditry. I wrote that in my 4 pages of notes. I drew
Yeah.
circles around my notes. I was like, it's crazy that he's painted this room the color of her skin, and
Fair
then you
skin.
literally can see the veins. Like when you see her hands up against the wall, you see the veins. So he's gone like, as in molecular with it.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell is Emerald trying to do here? Because that would be one thing if Edgar was white, like in the book, white blonde man for that matter. It's another thing when it's a brown man.
I completely
And
agree.
in universe, this is not even like one of those like wicked situations where like everybody is race blind or Hamlet. It's not one of those ones where the world is race blind. They are references inside to race, because someone makes a comment to Nelly that, oh, you wouldn't expect it to have been that, considering you. So acknowledging that, oh, you're a woman of color, you were never going to rise past a certain level in this kind of society. Also, Nelly, if I'm not mistaken, in universe is supposed to be someone's illegitimate child. So the universe acknowledges race exists. It exists within that world. So for them to have that brown man be so obsessive over her white skin that he's painted the walls, her skin with veins included, I was like, Emerald, what are you actually trying to say here? Or are you just doing that thing of just trying to provoke for the sake of it? Which I think is the latter.
So I'm not giving her as that much credit, because I get what you're saying about the Nelly comment, but I think that's about it when it comes to race. So, like, I get if you want to give it a generous interpretation, sure. I don't have that faith in Emerald Fennell, and for that reason, that's why I'm like, damn, I kind of wish someone else, like maybe even Ania Da Costa, took this on and really went there with the race swapping. Then let's really go there. Let's talk about how certain types of men of color idolize white women and their fair skin. Like, but yeah, I just don't think that I wouldn't give her that credit to say that she actually thought about that. No.
I don't think she really did either. I want to talk about sexuality and taboo. Are Kathy and Heathcliff siblings? I know in the movie she's removed the possibility that they are, but do you read them as siblings?
Because I read Heathcliff as a bastard child of a white man and an enslaved African or Caribbean woman, depending on how you use the terminology, yes, I do think that they're siblings. What do you think?
Yes. Of course they are.
And that is the reason why because like when you have twins that are separated at birth, and there have been rare cases where they find each other and they have a strong bond, but they don't know what is causing that. I think it's the same thing.
And that is why I believe is studio interference that made them unambiguously states that Heathcliff has a different father in this film, because this film takes the additional step of having Cathy and Heathcliff having sex repeatedly. They're not ready to be that wild and crazy and freaky with it and sick and twisted and gothic and Game of Thrones as to leave that real implication there that they are sharing a father. Which, to me, there's no way you can read that book and not take away that from that. That's such an important part. It's lost in this adaptation. Is the father is kind Heathcliff in the book.
Exactly.
He's not cruel like in this film. He takes some degree of care to Heathcliff, and Cathy's brother is resentful of Heathcliff because of that. He's like, I'm your full-born legitimate son.
No shade to anyone involved, but all of this has been exposed now. This reminded me of Arnold Schwarzenegger's whole like love child situation. Yeah, his son with his former maid is very handsome. He's just like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's very fit and all this stuff. And I'm just thinking, if you were the other son, the fully white son, and you're looking at this other mixed race son, you might be thinking, well, damn, he's a better inheritor of my father's legacy than I am. And then there comes the hatred, right? I'm not implying that's what's going on in their family, but I'm just saying in terms of the optics.
Unlike you, I actually don't think Emerald Fennell would have a problem with doing the sibling thing. I actually don't think so, because I think if you watch Saltburn, I don't think that level of taboo would be too far for her. I think part of it is she decided to over-romanticize this story based on her own 14-year-old fantasy, one. And two, I think there's some studio interference there. It's a missed opportunity, but again, that's not what this film is a light and flimsy take on the quote-unquote romance of Cathy and Heathcliff. It's not a gothic horror. Yeah. It's not a monster story the way it's supposed to be. They're almost unrelated.
On the point that you just made, like, I get that you like the film as a standalone, and I understand that there will be other people who liked it. I think the issue I have is, why did she call it Wuthering Heights? She should have just called it Catherine
with quotation marks.
Okay.
But don't forget the quote.
It still isn't even that. So it's like, just call it Cathy and Heathcliff, call it Emerald Fennell's fanfic, and move on. Like, you don't need to use Wuthering Heights. But of course, I understand that money have to make, so that's the reason why she decided to use that.
I actually genuinely wonder why they didn't call it Emerald Fennell's Wuthering Heights. I think that would have actually been better. No, I'm so serious. I'm actually serious. I think that more clearly tells you what this is. Emerald Fennell's Wuthering Heights tells me everything I need to know. Tells me that, I'm about to watch a weird porny, but not that porny perfume commercial about some characters lifted from Wuthering Heights. But I know that I'm not watching Wuthering Heights.